So a couple came in yesterday. It's their 25th wedding anniversary, and they're looking for a gift. So they saw some of my mountain pendants and earrings, and they want to go with those. So I put the pressure on myself, and I said, hey, come back tomorrow, and I'll make up a pair for you. So that's what this video is. It's sterling silver earrings and a pendant with a little diamond in the pendant, and it is 10:42 right now a.m. and I said I would have it done early afternoon. So come along, let's go guys, let's make it. Let's kick off this 25th year wedding anniversary with melting some silver. I have some silver grain, some extra pieces that I cut off from other projects. We're throwing a little flux in there. We're gonna heat this up. Now, everything in this video is a representation of marriage. It's a representation of refining. It's a representation of transforming. Because guess what? When you get married, the person you're married to will change. That's just a fact. We all do. We all change through life. We all change with circumstances. We all change with our environment. We all change because we learn something new, for the better or the worse. But in marriage, we say, I do, for better or for worse, in sickness and in health. So melting this metal, it's a refining. It's getting melted. All of the impurities are coming to the surface. And when I pour it into this mold, it takes a new shape. What once was scrap or just grain is now this billet. It's now this ingot that I get to work with. And that God works with us in our marriages too. And as I put it through this rolling mill, it represents our lives. We are squeezed. We are crushed under the pressures of life. And in marriage, our spouse, we often marry our opposite. And that's for a reason. Opposites do attract just like magnets, because I believe that's the way the Most High created it. Because if we married someone just like ourselves, we would never be sanctified through the trials. We would never have a reason to change, really. We would think we're just doing, what we should do in life. And this is the way it is. But when you have a spouse that sees things differently or has a different personality, you're drawn to that because you know that's missing in your life subconsciously. And I believe that's the way God created it. So we always end up with someone who opposites attract, that whole phrase. It's for a purpose and a reason. Right here, I'm annealing this piece of silver. I work hardened it by running it through the rolling mill, creating a bond of really tight molecules. Now we're going to release all that tension right here. Quench it. For sterling silver, you heat it to a glowing red hot for about a minute, and then you quench it in the water. And that's what happens in our lives too. We go through the furnace. We go through the fire. God promises that we will. And in our marriages, it is never more clear. Our spouse can see it. Those around us can see it. And the pressure builds. And then God brings us to that refining place and it quenches us so we're malleable again, so we can be moved, so we're not so hard and stiff. Now here I'm cutting out the pieces we need for this set of earrings and a pendant. And 3 pieces out of 1, just like there's a husband and a wife and the Creator. The 3 become one. And it's a great mystery, the great mystery of becoming one flesh with your spouse. Because there is a spiritual bond that happens when we become one that modern culture and society doesn't like to talk about. So right now I am just simply cutting out these squares. And I cut them out and we're going to go ahead and shape them to the correct shape and etc. But I annealed this material because it needs to be soft. It needs to receive a stamp, a mark. Remember in scripture where it says, everyone talks about the mark of the beast, but what about the mark that the Most High puts on us? Because his chosen, his people receive a mark as well. And husbands and wives, you receive a mark when you become wed. You put rings on your fingers, you make a covenant with one another, and you seal that covenant with becoming one flesh. On the outside, you can't tell something's happened. But internally it has. There's a spiritual bond that has happened. There's a soul tie between you and your spouse. And this is the mark. just as right here on my anvil, I am putting this mountain stamp into the pendant. I'm pressing it in. It has the mark of the maker, which I'm the maker of the piece, but he, the creator, is the maker of all things. So he puts his mark on us. And right there is the mark. It is the mountain. And on all of my pieces, my anvil is full of marks because I've hammered out a lot of pieces on it over the years. My anvil has, when I stamp something like the mountain on the front side, on the back side of the pendant, earring, or whatever it is that I'm making, there are marks from my anvil, and I don't remove them. A lot of people would say that's shoddy workmanship, but I do it for a purpose. It's so you can see that, okay, on the surface everything looks great, but on the back side there are scars. There are scars that have been happening throughout your life that, if allowed to, the Almighty will use for his glory. And he'll use you in spite of your marks. And in fact, those marks, just like I'm marking this sterling, it has the mark of the maker on it and what it is. This is sterling silver. But those marks, they tell a story. Every hammer blow on that anvil tells a story. Every single scar on your body has a story. More importantly, every scar on your heart and your soul has a story too. No one can take those from you, nor should they. Those are representations of our lives. And in marriage, there's a lot of them. Let's be honest. Marriage isn't easy. And you go through trials together, and there are marks and there are healings that take place. But the glory on the other side of that is that you get to share with another person, hey, we've been through that too. Let me tell you how God showed up and helped us. Let me show you how I walked in humility because he showed me my sin. Let me show you how we've been able to remain married for 25 years as this couple has. It is so important. Those scars, those marks, I don't think we should hide them. We should say, hey, here's my scar, but let me tell you what it represents. Let me tell you the story behind that scar. So in this project here, the earrings are getting completed. Now I'm putting a ring on the pendant so I can run a chain through it. I'm going to solder the ring shut so it can't come open again. And then we'll set a little diamond in this pendant. Now the diamond in this pendant obviously can represent the sun or the stars or the moon or what have you, or it's just decorative. But it's like all this refining has happened, all this fabricating and forging. And forging is moving metal, like causing it to move. And the forging is happening, and then we just put the little twinkle in there as a job well done. Good job, you guys. 25 years of marriage. Like, that is a feat. These days, that's really difficult to find people who have been married 25 years. So I applaud you. Good job. And it was a pleasure making this piece for you and setting the diamonds and seeing your excitement. And this is what I love about making jewelry. It's not just about, a thing. It's not just about metal and gems, but it's what it represents. Because if it doesn't represent anything, it's honestly just decorative. And that's not what I'm about. I do like the metallurgy and I geek out on all those things, but in the end, like, what's the point of doing this unless it's going to make an impact on someone? So I hope this whole process and you guys understanding what I'm thinking through while I'm making this piece, maybe it resonates with you. And if it does, give it a like, share it out to people, and help me build this company, because I'd love to do more of this, you guys. Like, I want to make pieces that have an impact on those that I make them for. And I'll make a video that you can share with your friends, and you can say, hey, this guy made a piece of jewelry for us, and he recorded the video and the process, and here's what it represents. And, it's kind of like a keepsake that'll keep living on YouTube or other platforms. What would you guys like me to make next? I have some ideas. I have a series of rings that I'd like to make that represent a lot of the same aspects that I talk about in this video. They're each going to have a name. They're each going to bear the mark of the trial. They're going to bear the mark of the blow in life that it took. And I'm excited for those videos. So keep watching. Keep checking out my channel. Please share it with your friends. And let's keep making jewelry that means something. Later.